Welcome to the first Tiger Time News of the 2023-2024 school year. I'm Morgan Boyle.
And I'm Jaycee Watkins. Let's get started.
Bolivar Central has been designated a Level 5 school according to the most recent TVAS data. Our team spoke to Principal James Crocker about what this means.
Hello, Mr. Crocker. We've been designated as a Level 5 school based on TVAS scores. What does that mean?
Well, what that means, the TVAS is the Tennessee Value Added Assessment System. And so what they do is they look at our scores from one year to the next, our student or EOC scores. They also compare that to what our students were projected to score on those tests. And then every school is ranked on a 1 to 5 scale. And so what level 5 means is that our students in our school greatly exceeded the expectations of growth from last year to this year.
Thank you.
With the new school year starting, there are many fresh faces on the faculty and staff. One of the biggest hires is the new band director and BCHS alum, William Griggs. We caught up with him and how he is taking on this new role.
Hello, I am very glad to be here. My name is William Griggs. I'm the band director at Bolivar Central, and I'm ready to make things happen.
All right, Mr. Griggs, now that you're teaching a music position here, you have past experience from U of M?
Yeah, I graduated from University of Memphis, and I was in a ensemble. It was the top commercial ensemble for the University of Memphis, and it's called Sound Fusion. And I was the music director for that. And some of the job titles, or some of the things that I had to do with the job title, was to make sure we learned the songs, actually pick the songs, make sure that everybody knew where they were supposed to be inside of the song, making sure they knew where the choruses were, where the bridges were, if we wanted to change up a verse or two or something like that, as well as making sure we had good live stream sound and camera angles and everything like that. So it was a handful with that one position. Yes, sir.
Would you say it's not only your education in music, but the people who you've been around in your lifetime to influence you?
Yeah, absolutely. The community support that I have here, before I was even born, I believed that I was getting support. That sounds crazy, but I never expected to have the amount of support that I have in my community, all the way from my family, from me beginning my musical journey, all the way to now being band director and achieving what I'm achieving with the help of the parents and the community around me.
And how long have you been in this music field?
I've been a musician my entire life. Before I could remember. Apparently, I was banging on keyboards and drums, before I could even crawl. So that's why I'm like, the amount of support that I've had my entire life with my music career has been overwhelming. So it's been a journey. It's been a journey.
And what do you have planned looking forward for the Bolivar Central High School Band?
I actually have a lot planned. We're doing home games right now. We're trying to look at the possibility of away games, trying to find out some transportation. I know one thing that I've been focusing on with these students is discipline, just trying to get the discipline back in order, making sure they understand what they signed up for and they're meeting the standards that I have set for them in order to make this band successful. So,
all right. Thank you for having a moment with us, Mr. Griggs.
Yes, sir. Nice to be here. Thank you, Logan.
The BCHS media team talked briefly with each of the new teachers to find out more about them. Here's what they had to say. What do you think is the best way to teach your students?
So I utilize a differentiated learning technique. So I do lecture-based learning. I also do hands-on activities, group activities, and I find that works best for students. Especially they get different styles of learning, so it kind of caters to all different styles, and so they can succeed in class.
What or who inspired you on your path to becoming a teacher?
Yes, so I had 2 teachers in high school, one in high school, one in middle school. I also come from a family of teachers, so I always understood the importance of education, but with those specific teachers in high school and middle school, they really furthered my love for school and for education. They made me want to come to school and want to learn, which is how I ended up getting my master's. So just being that for someone else so they can further their education better themselves.
You are about to earn your master's degree in biology. What are your plans for the future?
Yeah, so after I finish my master's in biology. I plan on furthering my education eventually. I do want to take some time to get used to the area and things like that, but after I do complete my master's, I will go on to further my education at some point.
How have you made a successful transition from college students to high school students?
Yes, so I acted as a supplemental instructor at a college level, so I taught lower level biology under a professor as well as upper level biology, so it's definitely a difference coming to a high school, but it's important to listen and pay attention to your students to see if they're grasping the material, and especially doing worksheets and different things, I can gauge where the students are and I can slow down or speed up depending. So it's definitely a transition, but just listening to your students is the biggest thing to make sure that they're successful.
All right, thank you, Ms. Davis, for your interview.
Thank you.
Furtado, what led you to pursuing special education?
Well, I was semi-retired a few years ago when I moved back to Tennessee, and my sister-in-law, who's an educator, said, "You need to go back teaching again." And I said, "Oh, I'm not sure." And she goes, "Well, just try subbing." So I did at Middleton Elementary, and I loved it, and that's how I kind of jumped back in.
How long have you been teaching?
Well, previously it was over 20 years, and when I lived out of the country. But here in the States, it's been a lot of volunteer time and work as I raised my children, and, I'd say 30 plus years.
I understand that you are originally from Memphis, Tennessee. After college, you married and lived in Venezuela in South America. How is the culture different from there compared to here in the USA, and what brought you here to Bolivar, Tennessee?
Well, the atmosphere and culture in South America is different in that, of course, first there's a different language, but the people also are very kind and friendly and warm, and they accept everybody that comes into their country. Like if you visited someone's home, you would instantly be treated like family. Even if you were a stranger, they would feed you. They would make sure you had something to drink. Super polite, very inviting, and indifferent that in their country, they're very united and they respect each other, and there's not so many cultural clashes. It used to be like an ideal place to be. As far as when the dictatorship came through, it sort of changed a little bit of the atmosphere because then the country came a little bit divided and a lot of people left. And there's still many, many good people there. And I loved my time living there. 2 of my children were born there. To answer part of your question, I lived there over, 20 plus years. And as far as what it has in comparison to Bolivar City, as a matter of fact, the city I lived in, Venezuela, was a river city on the Orinoco River, and it was called Ciudad Bolivar, which is Bolivar City. And Simón Bolívar, who's the liberator, actually is on the bust of the courthouse here in Bolivar City. So there's a comparison there. So I don't know, it's like a full circle coming back home. And actually I live in a small town not very far from here now that I inherited from my family. And that's how I came back here.
Thank you, Ms. Furtado.
You're welcome.
Mr. Childers, what brings you back to Hardeman County?
Well, my son goes to school in Hardeman County, and this is originally where I'm from, and I'm glad to be back in my home area and back closer to him so I can spend more time with my family and the folks my family and the people I like to be around.
What is the main difference between the school you worked at in Tupelo and Bolivar?
Well, the school in Tupelo had a lot more kids, over 2,000 kids, so a lot more to learn, a little bit bigger. But I really love Bolivar because it's more quaint and you can really get to know almost every student in the whole school.
Since you used to be an offensive coordinator and a head football coach, would you ever consider coaching again?
Well, I would love to coach again. The main reason I quit wasn't because I didn't like it. It was so I could spend more time with my son in the afternoons. But as he's getting older now, it's definitely interesting to get back in and spend more time with the kids.
Being a teacher of only history, would you ever switch subjects?
I think I would like to do math. I'm really good with numbers. So, I know there'd be a challenge, but maybe we could come up with some fun ways to do it.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Dickens. What is your job here at Bolivar Central High School?
I'm a pace sped teacher. I teach kids I give a service to certain kids who needs it.
What made you decide to go into this field of work?
I'm just giving back to the kids who need it the most.
How has your experience at Bolivar Central been so far?
Been very awesome.
Having previously worked at the middle school, what made you decide to come to Bolivar Central?
I go where I'm needed and only where I need it.
Thank you.
Mr. Duncan, what is it like going from being principal at Arlington to being assistant principal at Bolivar?
It's been a very welcome change so far. When I was at Arlington as the principal, we had almost 2,500 students on a yearly basis. Coming here to about 750 has been a welcome change for me. Personally, after 17 years as an administrator, I retired and couldn't stay retired after 2 days on the couch, so I came back to work. And it's been a welcome change, and I've really enjoyed my time here so far.
What are some things that you do to show leadership?
Well, I try to use all my experiences that I've had as an administrator, as a teacher, and a coach, as I've started my career. And as I finished it as an administrator, I've had multiple experiences inside a school building. And so I try to use those in different situations. You always, in a school day, you can go through many different experiences and situations. So you try to use your prior experiences and knowledge to help others with those situations. And even dealing with students, you try to talk them into certain decisions and making sure they're making great decisions as well.
As assistant principal, what is your favorite thing about working with students?
Just be interacting with students on a day-to-day basis, learning a new student body as I'm doing here, and learning the teachers as well. It's fun, keeps it fun for me, getting to know them. And, new experiences are always, they keep you on your toes.
What are some things you enjoy doing outside of school?
Outside of school, that's a great question. I enjoy playing golf. When I was a baseball coach and an assistant principal, we had a group of us in Memphis that played golf just about every course we could find. I still try to do that, and we get together when we can. I've also got a new grandson, and he's 5 months old yesterday. So we definitely enjoy getting together with my daughter and her family and my other two sons. I'm a parent of triplets, so we definitely enjoy family time and getting to do as much as possible with a new grandson. Been an exciting change.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Where all have you taught and how long did you teach there?
Bolivar 10 years, Fayette Ware 3, and Haywood 1.
What subjects did you teach at these schools?
World history and wellness.
What do you feel is different about Bolivar now than it was in the past when you were here?
The people. It's just different people.
Why did you decide to come back to Bolivar?
It's closer to home, and gas is not cheap nowadays.
Why did you decide to stop coaching football?
There's other stuff I want to do with my spare time. Travel is one thing, obviously, and I got kind of burned out on it.
Now that you are no longer coaching football, how do you plan to use your free time?
Doing yard work on the weekends. My wife will have a lot for me to do, and watching football, college football on Saturday, and then listening to Bolivar football on Friday nights on the radio.
Okay.
How's it going so far?
It's going great. I'm enjoying myself. I love BCHS with all my heart, and it's been a true honor to take on the juniors.
And so even though you're a new teacher, you already have a club sponsorship happening. How's that?
It's going good. When I went to school here, not that many years ago, I helped start History Club. So when I came back, I was very honored when they asked me to be a sponsor. It was a good old full circle moment for me.
And speaking of full circle, you told me you worked at an elementary school before coming here to high school?
Yes. My first year that I got into education, I was a sub, and I dabbled with elementary and high school. Then last year, I was a teacher assistant at Whiteville Elementary before I went on and had my own little baby. So it's my first year as a mom and a first year as a full teacher here at Bolivar, and I'm so excited.
All right, Miss Hughes, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Miss Woods.
Hello.
How are you liking teaching at Bolivar Central so far?
I'm really enjoying it, and I enjoy being around the kids and enriching their lives and being with them every day.
And why are you teaching Spanish?
I'm teaching Spanish because that was what was selected of me, but I do enjoy teaching them.
What do you see of Bolivar Central in the future as a teacher?
So if I'm not teaching here, I feel like I'll be teaching anywhere because it looks like that's the path I want to go with my life.
Thank you, Miss Woods.
Thank you.
Miss Woods, you are the new assistant principal of Bolivar Central High School. How has your experience been so far?
My experience so far has been great. I am meeting here with a lot of my former students, you being one of them, Samaya, from Whiteville Elementary, and I'm here with my former students from Bolivar Middle School. So far the experience has been great.
We know you are a formal assistant principal of not only Whiteville Elementary School, but Bolivar Middle School. How did you go from elementary to high school?
I was assistant principal at Whiteville Elementary for like 6 years, and I was instructional coach there for 5 years prior to that. When I left Whiteville Elementary, the numbers of students was down, and they really didn't need an assistant principal at that time. So I was assigned to go to Bolivar Middle School as an instructional coach. So to begin with, I started out working at Bolivar Middle and Whiteville Elementary. I was going to both schools for like 2 years. I would go 1 week to Bolivar Middle, the next week I was at Whiteville. And eventually Bolivar Middle School, their principal, he was deployed in the military, so Miss Sims, the assistant principal, she became the principal, and then I went to Bolivar Middle to be the assistant principal full time. And I've been here, this is my first year here at Bolivar Central as assistant principal.
What college did you attend?
Girl, I've attended so many colleges. Where do I start? First, I didn't go to college when I graduated from high school like you guys should do and like I should have done back then in the 70s. I had all sorts of opportunities to go. I had family members who wanted to pay for me to go to college, but I was young and I felt like I had had enough school. I didn't want any more school. So I went to work. I moved to Michigan, lived in Michigan for a year, went to work in the bank, came back here, went to work in the bank here in Hardeman County, worked at the bank for 13 years. I left the bank and decided I was going to go back to school. All of a sudden I wanted to go back to school. So when I went back to school, I was subbing. I did some substitute teaching here at Bolivar Junior High. And while I was there, I really enjoyed the substitute teaching, and I thought, wow, I'm doing this work, I might as well be paid for it. So then I decided I would go back to Jackson State, and I did, and I ended up doing an associate's degree in accounting with a second emphasis in business. I left Jackson State, went to Union, and I got a bachelor's degree at Union in accounting. So I graduated from Union with a bachelor's in accounting. Left there, I went to left Union. I ended up going to work for the school system in 2001, and I started teaching at Whiteville Elementary. I taught there for 7 years, and while I was teaching, I had to go back to school and get a master's degree in curriculum and instruction, which I did at Union University. I took some courses through University of Memphis. I started working on my doctoral degree through Trevecca University, and I've actually finished up my coursework at Trevecca for my doctoral degree. I just need to finish writing my dissertation. I've written chapter 1 and need to finish writing chapters 2, 3, and 4.
Are there any messages you would like to give the students?
To me, education is important. It's obviously important because I've been in school most of my life. Even though I didn't go to school when I first graduated from high school, I recommend that all kids do that because those years when I was working, some of my friends actually went on to school, and one of my friends who did go to school and majored in education, she ended up retiring probably about 10 years before I did because she went straight to college. She went straight to work as a teacher, and she worked for 40 years and got out while I was still working, trying to build up my retirement. So you guys don't think about retirement right now at an early age, but I recommend that you do go to school early. Go ahead and get that degree because it's hard to get a job nowadays without it, and it's just something that's good for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Officer Luttrell, you have been a police officer for 8 years. Why did you decide to become the new school resource officer?
Dr. Smith and Mike Jones wanted someone in here to actually take care of the kids, enforce the criminal laws and school policies.
Have you always been in Bolivar?
No, I have not. I've been in Bolivar for 5 years now.
Where else have you worked at?
I've worked in Corinth, Mississippi, Boonville, Mississippi, and also Starkville, Mississippi.
What are your goals in being the new school resource officer?
To make sure y'all go home every day safely, and to make sure there's no gang activities and or gambling on school grounds.
How is being a regular police officer different from being a school resource officer?
Juveniles have more constitutional laws than adults do. There's other steps and processes dealing with juveniles outside of dealing with grown 18-year-old or older adults.
Thank you.
Hi, Ms. Shelton. Thank you for agreeing to be in this interview. Compared to last year where you traveled between Bolivar and Middleton, is this new position more to your liking? And could you explain what your role is here at Bolivar Central now?
I enjoy both high schools. They, of course, are two different high schools. Middleton is, smaller school, smaller in student population compared to this school. I can't say that I like one better than the other. Everyone was wonderful at Middleton. I've been here at Bolivar since 2013. So this has been, I guess, kind of my home away from home, and this is what I've been used to, and I am glad to be back here and back in this community, with the students that I know and love, and the faculty and staff that I know and love.
Could you explain more of what your role is here?
My role is instructional coordinator, which I oversee the instruction in the school. I am staff support. I help the teacher with any instructional needs that they have, curriculum, resources, and I also am working with our career portion of the curriculum, just continuing to build that up with our courses that we have partnered with TCAT and University of Memphis and Jackson State.
So, you have worked for the schools in the county for the past 28 years. What are some of the major changes you have seen within the school district over time?
Oh, wow. I think our greatest change occurred last school year when we really placed an emphasis on, the college and career, and helping guide students, especially beginning in the lower grades, I'd say 8th grade, with youth science, taking it, and it's an aptitude and interest assessment, and just tapping into, okay, what skills are they good at, and how can we direct them, toward a career, and just preparing them to come to high school and choose their focus areas. And also with our high school courses, especially our 9th grade Future Ready, the students learning soft skills, organizational skills, just to prepare them to go into the workforce. And we're also, building on that this year. We had, I want to say, over 100, maybe here at Bolivar, 150 or so that earned industry credentials, which is huge. They can take these and get jobs, just easy with those certifications.
What inspired you to work in the education field?
Well, growing up, I always said I wanted to be a teacher, and I can remember having my little chalkboard and books, and I always wanted to play school and wanted to be the teacher, and I had my little stuffed animals, or sometimes friends that they were my students, and so I think that just developed in me at a young age, and I've just always had that heart to see children and students learn.
If you had any advice for the new students at Bolivar, what would it be?
to figure out, and sometimes that's difficult at your age, just figure out the things that you love, that you enjoy, what your passions are, and that may be something that you are successful in. That's something that we need to help guide you and steer you in, for beyond high school, in whatever career you choose, or if you choose to go to college. So just figure out what your passion is and just go for it.
All right. For the last question, upon some recent news, how is adapting to the new grandparent life?
Oh my, okay, this could take a long time. I love it. Every grandparent said that this is the best thing ever. And if you could have the grandkids before the kids, that's what you would choose. But now I love my kids, and of course, they're the ones that gave me my grandbaby, but it's wonderful. And just, he has my heart completely, and I'm completely in love with him. So wonderful.
Thank you. That's all we have.
What do you take from your teaching experience to add to your coaching?
Just taking my time and making sure I explain things, asking kids if they know the why behind what they're doing so they know how to do it better.
Typically, most coaches choose PE or history as their subject. What caused you to pick science instead?
Because I've always been a nerd. I just happen to play football, but I've always been a science nerd. My grandfather was a biology professor at Tennessee State University. My father coached and taught science as well as PE and other things. And their advice to me when I went into education was to get certified in something that you like doing, and science was one of those things.
Teaching and coaching takes up a lot of time, especially on the coaching side. When you're away from the field and classroom, what are some things you enjoy doing?
I actually enjoy being around my grill as well as going fishing, just sitting there by myself. Not wishing, but fishing.
Coach, what are some events in life that have made you who you are today?
Just being born into an athletic family and a family that prized education. Several of my relatives are principals, several are professors, several are doctors. So growing up in a family with expectations that high kind of helps you shape who you are. And if you can figure out who you are early enough, then you can be happy doing whatever it is you do.
Thank you, Coach Smith.
Miss Wallerenta, what led you to become a teacher?
It was quite an accident. I had my first baby, and I wanted to take a break between medical school, and I became a sub, and from the first day they hired me, and I've been teaching ever since. Fell in love with it.
Why did you choose to come to Bolivar?
I met Mr. Crocker, and he seemed like a really good principal and someone I could really work under, and I believed in his vision, and so I decided to come here.
Have you always taught chemistry?
I've taught chemistry for 19 years. My first year, however, I taught biology.
What are some of your hobbies outside of teaching?
Oh, I love horses, and I got 4 horses, and I garden and cook and fish and hunt and all that.
Thank you.
Over the summer, selected students attended the American Legion Boys State and the American Legion Auxiliary Volunteer Girls State. During this week, our students were able to learn more about local and state government. Some of our students went on to be elected to various positions within the mock government. Here's what they had to say.
Addie, how would you describe Girls State and your overall experience of being a delegate?
It's overall a really good experience. You make a lot of new friends while you're there. It's kind of difficult at first to adjust to the new environment because everything happens so fast, but overall it's a really good experience and I would recommend it.
What are the steps that you took to get to Speaker Pro Tem?
First, I had to meet with my county, and I had to be elected a senator out of 60 other girls, and they only elected 4 from each county. So I was first elected a senator out of 60 other girls, and then from the senators, I had to be elected the Speaker Pro Tem, which I had to go through. I believe I had 12 other opponents for that, so I also beat 12 other girls to become Speaker Pro Tem of the Senate.
As Speaker Pro Tem, what were your responsibilities?
It was actually really, really fun because I got to get a gavel and I got to bang the gavel, and they were pretty serious about everything. So I had a sheet that I had to follow word for word, as if you were in the real Senate. And if discussions got pretty heated, which there were discussions about all kinds of stuff, from abortion to just friendships and stuff for the bills. So when the bills would come up and they would get heated, I would like get to tell people to like sit down and be quiet. So it was pretty cool.
Thank you so much. Avery, how would you describe your overall experience at Boys State?
It was pretty fun. I didn't really know a lot of the guys when I got there, but I got to meet a lot of them. It felt like my first college experience, but I got to learn a lot, got to hear a lot of higher-up people talk, and learned a lot about the government.
What would you say your favorite activity of Boys State was?
Probably playing cornhole during our athletic time.
What did you do as a member of the Court of Criminal Appeals?
They got us all together. They put the Supreme Court together, and then we did a mock trial. We got to talk about a lot of different things, and I got to be a part of the prosecution team, and we tried to get them, but we didn't completely succeed. We split the case half and half.
Thank you.
Carson, what was your overall experience at Boys State?
Overall, it was a good experience. It was definitely different than anything I'd ever done before, but overall, I think it was pretty fun.
What was your favorite activity at Boys State?
My favorite, there's a bunch, but we had an all-star basketball game one night. The whole camp, or whatever you'd call it, picked certain players to play, and I got to play in that. Played for a little bit, so had fun in front of everybody.
As mayor of Mathis, what were your responsibilities?
I had to lead marches. I had to attend meetings from my city with the other 11 mayors and just things like that.
Thanks.
Alana, what was your reaction when they announced you as a Girls State delegate?
I was really honored to be chosen and to be able to have this opportunity to go to Girls State, and I was really excited for it because my sister had also went to Girls State as well.
How would you describe your overall experience of Girls State?
It was great. I was nervous at first when I first went, getting to meet all the new people there and trying to get accustomed to everything, but once I got used to it and everything, I had a lot of fun and meeting new people. It was so great.
As reporter of Daughtry City, what were some of your responsibilities?
I had to report on what we had done for the week at Girls State, and it got announced in the news at Girls State.
Thank you. Hannah, what was your reaction when you were announced as a Girls State delegate?
Well, of course I was very thrilled because it's such an honor and a privilege to be elected as a Girls State delegate, and I was honestly a little shocked that I was get because I thought of some girls that were definitely above me.
How would you describe your overall experience at Girls State?
I think that Girls State is a very hard experience for a lot of people because it's a very fast schedule and there's not a lot of time to do a lot. But I think it was a really good experience and I learned a lot from it, especially looking at colleges this next year. It taught me a lot about what to look for and kind of how I would feel going into college.
As head of Board of Education for Girls State, what were your responsibilities?
So at the end of Girls State, on the last day, we have a Girls State game show that asks us a bunch of questions relating to the speakers that we had throughout the week and about some facts about Girls State and the history there. So I had to test our entire city on those, and then I had to be willing to go up there and answer these questions if anyone from our city was not present.
Thank you.
Jaycee, what was your overall experience at Girls State?
So I would say that my overall experience was very interesting. It was a very fast-paced environment, which is something that I'm not very used to. And it was also very eye-opening for me because everybody had much different opinions than ones that I have. So I felt kind of at odds with most of the girls there. But I would say that it was still pretty interesting and fun.
What was your favorite part about Girls State?
So the best thing to me was definitely Fast Song. It was the most fun thing that we did. We all got together and we had to write lyrics to All Shook Up by Elvis Presley. It was really fun, and our theme was trash talk, so we were dressed up in trash bags and bikinis. And then we got to go up on stage and perform, and that was really fun.
What were your duties as election commissioner?
So as election commissioner, the main thing that we had to do was count the votes and make sure that they were all equal and the same. And we also had to make sure that everybody had their voter registration cards and make sure that they signed it. We also got to announce who the winner of each election was. And then whenever they had the governor election, we had to do the election for everybody.
There have been some modifications to some BCHS policies, specifically regarding wearing of hoodies, possession of cell phones, and consequences for fighting. Mr. Crocker explained these changes.
Going into this new school year, there are several new changes and reinforcements made to the policy, such as hoodies, fighting, and cell phones. Do you care to discuss them and the reasons for their upbringing?
Yeah, I'll talk about the hoodies first. The policy does say that, if the hoodie policy is taken advantage of, that as administrators, we do have the right to take away that privilege. So last year we had a lot of students who were wearing their hoodies inside the building, not taking it off their head when they came in. So we just decided that was not a battle we were going to fight this year, and we just made the rule of no hoodies inside the building at all. With the cell phones, it's not really a new policy. Cell phone policy is the same as it was last year. We have just, as an administrative team, we are just encouraging teachers to be more consistent in enforcing the policy that's already there. Now, the fighting, we do have a new disciplinary code. We changed the penalties if student is involved in a fight. Where the first offense, it will be 30 days at the alternative school. The second offense, 45 days at the alternative school. And the third offense will be 60 days or the rest of the year at the alternative school. Now, let me also say this. We're not just counting fights this year. If you've been in fights previously, and you get in a fight now, we may not count that as your first fight. So we do look at history, discipline history. And I know that's not going to apply to most students, because most of the students here want to come to school, get an education, and do what they're supposed to do. But for the ones that aren't that way, then we're doing what we can to get them where they need to be.
Regarding to school-issued hoodies for athletics and clubs, does the hoodie policy continue to apply to them, and why?
Yes, it does. And the reason why is just for consistency, because it wouldn't be fair to allow one hoodie and not allow another hoodie.
Thank you.
This year is the beginning of a 2-year district and region alignment, which is based on the September 2022 enrollment numbers. Here are the new alignments for the 2023-2024 and 2024-2025 school years. The new districts are as follows. For football, our new region includes Covington, Dyersburg, Liberty Tech, McNary, Ripley, Scotts Hill, and Martin Westview. In cross country, most every public high school in West Tennessee outside of Memphis is in the region. Volleyball will compete in district against Bolton, Fayette-Ware, Haywood, and Lakeland Preparatory. For basketball, baseball, and softball, our district opponents will be Bolton, Fayette-Ware, and Haywood. Track's West Division will be a portion of West Tennessee schools, including Memphis schools, with a 2022 enrollment of approximately 680 to 1,150 students. Golf and tennis will have Adamsville, Collinwood, Riverside, Frank Hughes, McNary, Middleton, Perry County, Scotts Hill, and Wayne County. Not all of these schools have teams, however.
Finally, with fall sports well underway, we caught up with the coaches to talk about how the seasons are going so far.
Hello, Coach Hobbs. Who are your runners for this cross-country season?
Okay, I've got 6 runners. I've got Michaela Newble. She's a sophomore. She's returning from next year. I've got Brandy Robinson. I got Kendall Baker. She's a sophomore, and she ran track last year, so I'm expecting something out of her this year. I've got Jemiah Lax, Maya Borden, and Jalea Murphy. They're all new this year.
What has been your strategy to get your runners prepared for this upcoming season?
Running and lots of it.
What do you expect from this upcoming season?
I'm expecting a lot from Michaela. Like I said, she's returning. She's a good athlete. I'm hoping she can be competitive this year. The other 5 are new, but Kendall Baker, she ran track last year, so I'm expecting something out of her this year since she's got a little more experience. But the rest are freshmen, so I'm still learning them. But what I've seen in practice so far, I think they should be pretty good.
What advice would you give to upcoming cross-country runners?
Run and lots of it.
Thank you. As volleyball coach, what are your expectations for the upcoming season?
Alana, we've been looking forward to this season since reclassifications came out last year. Just being able to compete in the district means so much and has built the confidence in the girls.
Who have you seen have the most growth since joining the volleyball team?
I'm going to give that to Maggie Morris. She's been working really hard since last year, proving herself. She's playing JV and varsity this year, but she's worked hard all summer, just doing really good.
Since playing your first game, what adjustments have you made in strategy for the team?
We were missing some key players last week due to sickness and other things, so just having them back and being able to run our rotation like we've practiced, so went well this week. Just looking forward to the rest of the season.
Thank you, Ms. Emerson.
You're welcome, Alana.
What are your thoughts on the upcoming season with you being put into a new district?
Well, thank you for asking me to do the interview. As far as our new district goes, it's really the same as last year. But Chester County left and McNary was brought in. All the other teams stayed the same, so we're very familiar with who we're going to be playing this year. I do feel as though McNary will be our toughest opponent, though.
What all has the team done to improve since last year?
They have worked hard. Some have played in several tournaments this summer. Meredith Whitfield has worked very hard for the girls. The boys have worked hard. Clay Strope has been injured for a little while, so he's trying to get back into it. Kind of been struggling recently, but he's going to find his game.
With all your seniors gone, who do you see as a player who has stepped up to take their place?
Meredith Whitfield for the girls for sure. We had 3 seniors that graduated last year, so she's remaining strong. She's the only girl this year, so looking for some girls. Maybe wants to play golf. She's the only one, but she's been practicing hard. Put a lot of time in this summer. For the boys, the scores-wise, Carson Daniel's still our scoring leader average, but we have a couple other seniors, Kyle Hammonds, Clay Strope, and then new addition this year is Caleb Souter. He's playing golf this year as well. So we have a few seniors still for the boys' side, but we're giving some effort and we're trying hard.
Thank you. The season's now 2-0. Your next opponent is Ripley. If we lose or win to Ripley, what's next for the team?
It's a long season. We'll still have 7 games after this, guaranteed, no matter what. This will be a big week for us, so I'm hoping we can go out there and win it, though.
Thank you.
Best of luck to our Tigers as they continue their seasons.
Thank you for watching, and be sure to look for more news from the BCHS media team.
And as always, go Tigers!
Since you love music, would you consider yourself a Swiftie?
Absolutely not.
Negative.
Yeah, I don't think I'm a Swiftie. I don't think I'm full on. I feel like she just talks about her ex-boyfriends too much for me.